this meeting to order. This time, we salute the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call on bond advisory committee members.
Mr. Hernandez. Ms. Higgins. Here. Ms. Lopez.
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Here.
Ms. Romero. Ms. Tomei.
Here.
Mr. Verdugo.
Here. We need a motion to approve the agenda items as submitted.
A motion to approve the agenda submitted. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Hernandez. Ms. Higgins. Here. Ms.
Yeah.
Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Romero. Ms. Tomei.
Yes.
Mr. Verdugo.
Yes. The first item on the agenda is bond advisory member comments. Mr. Encinas.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Again, thank you very much to the committee members for taking time out of your schedules to provide service to the community that we all very much appreciate. And I'm sure that those paychecks you get every 2 weeks reflect that. Yeah. For
Makes
the
a big
record, there is no
difference.
pay.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
This is just an agenda item placed on tonight's meeting, on every meeting, which gives an opportunity to any member wishing to make any comments pertaining to the bond project. So,
Any member wish to make any comments at this time?
Haven't been out and about lately.
Okay, if no comments from any bond advisory member, we move on to financial report and bond expenditures and encumbrances. Mr. Encinas.
thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Attached for the committee members' information and review are the latest bond fund expenditure reports, which basically reflect the following. I think we took some advice from Ms. Lopez, who asked that if we could provide just a report that shows, hey, what do we have, what have we spent, what have we got left over? And what the handout which is part of the agenda item attached to it, is basically a summary which shows that over the course of the past 8 years already, 7 years, 8 years, we've received in revenue through the sale of bonds $88,183,294.67. Now, the community only authorized the sale of $88 million. That additional $183,294.67 is actual, when we sell bonds, the financing entity will give a premium discount in the form of negative interest, and that money that is forwarded to the district in terms of additional revenues. We can't spend that money, okay? We cannot spend it. In other words, it can't be part of the $88 million. So in essence, it can only be used to offset the cost of the sale of the bonds, which will, at the end, that's our intent. When we see the sale of expenditure, cost of issuing bond expenditure, $644,131.60. Our intent is to use whatever is in excess of $88 million is to use that excess to offset the cost of issuing the bonds. So we'll only spend the $88 million. And looking at the report there, it basically says that under district-wide remodeling renovation, the community approved $32 million. We've spent $28.3 million. We have $131,000 encumbered with the cost of the sale of the bonds. But what is available from the $32 million at this point is $3,307,000 for remodeling renovation. That's the last column. Under district-wide athletic program, approved is $10 million. We spent $6.9 million. We have encumbered close to $200,000. What's left over to be spent on athletic program expenditures is $2.8 million. Student technology, $27 million is authorized, $24 million has been spent, $562,000 is encumbered, left over to be spent, $2.2 million. Under security upgrades, it's $2.2 million.
I'm looking at the last page on the balance of the salary.
And that, if you look at it, it also shows that the cost of issuing bonds is $694 is a separate. If you look at this summarized report, that $644 $44,000 worth of cost of issuing bonds has been spread out into the different programs to in other words, to reflect of the cost of issuing bonds of $644,000. A portion of that is already been, is based on the total amount. In other words, of $32 million is X% of the 88 million, as an example. $32 million of $88 million is roughly 30%. 30% of 644,000 is roughly, what is it, 10% would be 64,000, 180,000. So about $180,000 of the cost of issuance is included in the expenditures and encumbrances to come at the $3.3 million. So that $3.3 million only takes into account the cost of issuing bonds. The summarized report, though, or the detailed report that you refer to, shows the cost of issuing bonds as a separate expense. Okay? Because if you look at the summarized page where it says cost of issuing bond expenditures, available balance is zero. That's because I zeroed out that 644 and allocated it to the rest of the
Proportionally
projects.
based off the percentage of
Yes, sir.
of the allocation.
Each one of those, based on the percentage of how much was allocated originally of the bond expenditure.
Yes.
They got a percentage of that 644,000.
Yes, sir. Okay, leaving that available balance. Okay. Security upgrades, $1 million. We already spent $1,009,000. 1625 is encumbered. We've overspent $18,000 in that for that line item. For Fine Arts Magnet School, $12 million has been approved. $11.1 million has been expended. $4,002 is encumbered, leaving $820,000 left to be spent for that area. And then transportation of buses, $6 million was approved, spent $5.989. When we add the cost of issuing bonds percentage to that amount, it reflects that we've overspent transportation buses by $32,000, almost $33,000. So in essence, if you take the available balance, $9,092,000 of all those areas, $9,092,000, and take into account how much is cash available, 10.173, well, and then backing out the encumbrances, the difference between the encumbrances, which we have to pay for, less the $9 million that's still to be spent under the different areas, there's $183,294.67 left over, which is the cost of the additional revenues to the sale of the bonds. Okay? So even though we have $10.173 million, taking into account the encumbrances plus the available balance, there'll be $183,294.67 left over. Any questions?
I was wondering where the $183,000 came from.
The
When I
revenues.
saw the ADU bonds was initially approved by the voters, and I said, where do we get that extra money?
Is a discount or negative interest. Okay.
Anybody have any questions? Good afternoon, Mr. Hernandez. Any questions for Mr. Encinas in the financial report? I think this is a much simpler format than
Yeah.
having everything included. in-
Now, we have, if you ever require the detail is available. I mean, if you want to know of the athletic, we spent, so you say, Mr. Racine, we spent $6,915,611.44 that we already paid. We've got detailed records to show exactly how that money was spent for what to the penny.
I think that would be nice to have.
Yeah.
Okay?
A review, I was gonna say, because remember they started that little pamphlet flyer, generation something, and it was explaining what the bond monies have produced throughout the years, and then it stopped. I don't know, it was not cost effective or what the heck, but it would be good for us to know, like Mrs. Higgins here that hasn't been here that long, to know what we've been doing throughout these years and where it's gone. And also a refresher for us, because I forget. And then sometimes I think, we did this, and you say we didn't, so.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes,
just
Mr. Baca.
to answer the question, Mr. Mercado, or Director of Public Information, is in the process of creating another issue of the Generations magazine, so I'll take those comments back to Mr. Holmes and see if that's something he would like to have a section included as
Yeah,
far as
because
that.
that was neat, because that information went out to the community. And there as well, getting the information that basically sometimes we only hold in this room, or whatever department or school is affected by, you know, the goods we're providing for them.
I think it also had some sense of clarity to the community and explaining the difference between a bond and a grant, right? Because bond expenditure versus what's covered in an override. So the community can see clearly this is what your tax dollars pay for. Any other questions for Mr. Encinas? Okay, do I have anything to call the audience?
No, sir. No.
Okay, nothing to call the audience. Okay, agenda item 3, a solar project request for district contribution to pay for additional costs requested by TP. Mr. Encinas?
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, block members. We're coming tonight requesting block consider approving the expenditure of bond funds to help offset and pay for some unexpected solar project expenditures that have resulted as via Tucson Electric Power Company placing some restrictions or requirements upon the district, which were not considered, were not part even of the project when we contracted and agreed to the project with Sun Renew approximately over a year and a half ago. As the members may be aware or will recall, the district did undertake a major solar panel project with Sun Renew, who partnered with Solar City Corporation, which is owned by Tesla. We were, through the efforts of Ms. Cindy Beauvais, the district energy project manager, we were successful in negotiating a project with Sun Renew, which would result in almost $50 million worth of electrical savings over the next 30 years, without the district having to contribute $1 of its expenditures to pay for the project. Basically, what the project would call for is that we agreed upon a rate for which we would pay electricity from Sun Renew, and that rate was 0.092 cents per kilowatt hour, and that, instead of paying TEP almost between 11 to 13 cents a kilowatt hour, and we projected that we would be able to not only have the solar panels installed, which would include parking solar or shade structures throughout the district, but it would result in millions of dollars of savings to the district in its energy costs. Through the process of the solar project, each project is required to undertake a very thorough and rigorous evaluation and design, and then ultimately approved by Tucson Electric Power Company in terms of them approving the project as it has been designed. We pretty much went pretty quickly, or not so quickly, pretty smoothly with the first phase, which included, Cindy, how many, 11 schools?
16 sites.
15?
16.
16 sites. However, we did come across some unexpected expenditures, which we intend to negotiate with Sun Renew via what they call the SS rate, which is the kilowatt per hour rate that we agreed upon. When it came down to this second phase, which includes Sunnyside High School, Desert View High School, what other school? Mission Manor? No. The final five schools.
Oh, the middle schools,
Middle
and then the 2 high schools, and then Elvira was also on phase 2.
Okay. But when it came down to specifically Sunnyside High School and Desert View High School, because of the size of those projects and the amount of kilowatt hours that is being generated from those panels, TEP is now requiring the district, was at first requiring the district to pay for interconnection study in excess of what we had planned or called for in the original contract, and that cost was an additional $50,000 per site. And then they're also saying that because of the size of the site, each one of those generating systems would require a trip switch. And if we could go to Cindy's
Presentation.
PowerPoint, that right there, that's it. That is what is being required by TEP, and basically, I don't know, Cindy, you want to go through this? you're more knowledgeable than I am in regards to the technical requirements here.
Well, when TEP picks up the phone and calls you and requests a special meeting, you know it's going to be a holy crap day. Because the first time they did that with us is when they came back and informed us after we had started going that they wanted to do a grid study on their grid to find out how our generation of solar is going to affect their grid. And with that, they wanted $30,000 per site to do. But it's like, but we've got multiple schools on any given grid. So it came back that they only ended up having to do 3 grid studies for the first 16 schools. So it wasn't as bad as what they had projected it to be for us. Well, then the second time, as we're inching closer to phase 2, now mind you, they've had all the projects inserted into their power clerk for over a year. They come back and want to have another meeting with all of us, and that's when they broke it to us that if we were going to put up as much solar as what we were planning on at both Desert View and Sunnyside, then we needed to install a special trip transfer, and they wanted $50,000 to do the grid study for each site. So what we all agreed upon, if we reduced it somewhat at Desert View and increased it over there at Sunnyside, we could get away with doing a trip transfer there for approximately $450,000. That was just the figure that they gave to us because they don't know exactly how much it's going to cost until they give the specifications to a company that actually builds what the needs are for. So we're going to reduce somewhat at Desert View. We're in the clear there. We're not required to do this transfer trip there, and we're putting it over at Sunnyside. So we're going to be expanding the solar at Sunnyside to make up the difference of the loss at Desert View. So then the return on everything is still going to be pretty close to what our original agreement is. Correct, Hector?
It's, the original agreement projected savings of $17.322 million over 30 years, and the revised recommended option is going to save us $17.343 million was the original one, and the revised option 5 with the district paying the $100,000 worth of the studies and the cost of the trip switch, should I call it. The savings is going to be $17.22 million. So we're losing approximately $111,000 worth of $12,000 worth of savings over 30 years. At the urging of Superintendent Holmes, there was an agreement that they wanted us to sign. Mr. Holmes said, no, I want legal to review this before making any commitments and signatures. We forwarded to legal, and legal brought to our attention that we would not be in compliance with procurement if we agreed to reimburse SunRenew rather than pay TEP directly the additional costs. So in essence, they're saying that rather than pay SunRenew the additional costs of the study and the transfer trip, pay that directly to TEP. That way there is no issues about procurement because you're buying electricity from TEP. There's a sole source issue. So that's a recommendation that was made. The recommendation that legal has made is that we need in writing a guarantee from SunRenew that in the event that we do decide to pay the $500,000, they'll guarantee us that that rate of 0.092 will not increase as a result of this additional cost. Now, there may be other costs that will come up later on that are directly unrelated to this transfer trip or the study, but this additional expenditure, we're asking for a guarantee that that 0.092 rate would not be increased. And then lastly, the concern that legal brought up was we want assurances from both SunRenew and the third-party consultant that the amount of electricity generated at Sunnyside High School as a result of increasing that size will now result in the district overproducing electricity, selling it back to TEP at a subsidized rate, and thereby the district losing money by producing electricity for TEP. We're paying 0.092, and then they're buying it at half that rate. So, we have informed both Sunrenew and the third-party consultant of this proposal, and basically informed them that if BOC approves for the expenditure of bond funds for this, we need those guarantees.
Yes.
I remember when this was first brought to the BOC committee as information only,
Right.
it reminds me of the commercial that we see. Well, how much is this gonna cost the district? Free. How free? How much free? How free? Free. So I've done a lot of plan review on distributed generation system, and if you know up front, you got a 2.31 megawatt system, and you don't take into account either through TEP's engineering or the engineering of Sunrenew and Tesla that these transfer trip switches are going to be needed, well, that is not something that we should be concerned with. I don't think, first of all, it's my personal opinion, that this was ever something that was brought forward to the BOC to approve. This was done outside of the BOC, and I said, and my opinion is that somebody dropped the ball up front, and it's obvious, TEP does this all the time, but
TEP did go out with us and did all site visits with us and looked at some transformers are ours, some are theirs, and they did check everything before we entered into it, so.
So why all of a sudden, I mean, from $900,000, which is crazy, to $450,000, which I still believe this has nothing to do with BOC funds. In my personal opinion, this is something that was done by the district between TEP and somebody else. Everybody knows that TEP is on the mandate, as any other utility is, that by I think 2020, 2025, they got to reduce their fossil fuel consumption either through solar or wind generation. And this is part of the project. Let's put it everywhere else. And they see a school district as a cash cow. Once we get our foot in, well, they're over a barrel. Well, I don't agree. I think that you want to pay for this, well, you find out a way to pay it and don't come out of the BOC funds, because it didn't come to the BOC, it wasn't approved by the BOC, it wasn't discussed by the BOC, why should the BOC pay for it?
Well, let me respond to that. The reason why we're asking BOC to pay for it, because the other option we have available is not to pay for it at all. And if we don't pay for it at all, we'll pay $1.5 million over the next 20 years for a $500,000 expenditure. Now, is it feasible? Is it wise? Is it financially responsible on the district's part to not pay $500,000, but pay $1.5 million over 20 years?
So how much does that come out to a year?
If you see option number 5, that's what it's going to cost us. It's going to cost, option number 3. If you look at option number 3,
So that's not really a cost, it's just a projected cost.
no, it's a cost. It's a cost because in essence, what we're going to instead of paying on a yearly basis,
From 9.2 cents to 11.3 to 13 cents. Yeah, so.
we're paying. See, under the proposal where they pay for it up front, we pay for it through the increase in the SSA rate. Okay. Instead of saving $174,000 the first year, we're only going to save $88,000, which means we're going to have to pay $90-some thousand more for electricity that year.
Yeah, so I'm saying that we don't have to, but I'm saying that the district can pay for it, pay that $500,000. I'm not saying not pay it. I'm just saying don't take it out of the BOC funds. That's just what I'm saying. You want to find the money you want to pay it, but don't take it out of the BOC funds. It didn't come before us as a committee to approve this.
And that's why we're coming here tonight.
Yeah.
And that's where we're wanting your input. We want your decision, your recommendation.
I'm just one person, but I've done several of these before, and never have seen, oh, by the way, I know you guys are already almost done with it, but you need to put it in this transfer switch, you need to put this director, it's always up front.
Yeah.
Lori?
I was going to say, I kind of agree with you. They brought us information, and now I'm seeing the problem we've had with other vendors where we're getting nickel and dime on different projects that we have approved by BOC money, and they may have to come back to us because it was done incorrectly, or it was short, or some kind of a problem. And this is now what I'm seeing with TEP going into this contract with district, is they didn't, like you said,
Yeah.
Cindy, they
We've
went
always-
and met,
yeah.
and you went to all the schools.
Right,
But evidently, did they not think of this issue back then when they visited the sites?
yeah.
Now it's an issue.
Plus, we've always included our third-party consultant on everything from the get-go. And the third-party consultant is our advisor, you know, he's separate from TEP and separate from Sun Renew. So there we brought in outside professionalism to be our guide, because we just thought that it would be more feasible to handle, you know, all this, you know, information this way.
But going down to the nitty-gritty, as far as what we have left to continue with the projects and projects that are not completed yet, and the few that we want, I don't think we have the money to help you guys out. I think it's a district problem. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel.
Mr. Hernandez?
What it seems like is, it seems like you're trying to hide something, because you did not initially inform us of what you was going to go down. Had you had done that, I would have probably said, well, then why do you need a BOC committee at all? Go ahead and do whatever you feel like doing, because that's what you're doing. You're making us a party to something we do not know nothing about.
I think objection, sir, to that, because that's why we were here, okay? That's why we're here. We're asking you for your approval.
Well, that's
to
why I'm
this
saying.
But if you don't recommend it, if you don't approve it, that's what your recommendation is going to be.
Yeah, well, I
So don't be
understand
saying
that. That's why I'm saying.
that we don't,
It's
we're trying to
fine
hide something. I
that
take
the
offense
school
to
board
that, sir. I'm
has done
sorry.
everything they've done.
I take very offense
And
to say
we
we're trying to
can
hide something. I'm
have a
sorry.
discussion before we go ahead and do it or not do it.
That's why we're here, okay? Do you think that we want to be here, sir? I don't want to
Okay.
be here, okay? I don't want to come here to the committee and ask for $500,000.
Well, you don't have to be here.
Well, I have
Mr.
to,
Encina.
because that's my job.
If you do not like what's going on, just fire us all, and you can do whatever you want.
No, sir, don't take.
That's what you're
don't take
asking
my- don't
us
take my
to do,
comments out of context,
is to
okay?
have
My
no
point is-
say in what we're doing, because what we're upset about is you did not inform us.
'Cause we didn't
Had
know.
you informed us,
Sir, how do we know that?
when
this
you
was gonna
started,
happen?
the day you started, you could have said, you know what? This is what just happened last night. Or you could have said, this is what happened a month ago. We've already got into it. But you did not. You waited until the day when you think you had enough power to go by us, and without telling us, so we are forced
That's
to
what
be
we're-
accepting it because it's gonna
You're
cost
not-
us more money.
Sir, what-
That's the problem
We're
we
not
have.
forcing you to do anything, we're just bringing this to your attention because this just came out to us. If you look at the dates of the reports, what's dated March 24th, okay? So what happens is that's something that we've been hold off to or trying to hide. This is something that was put on us by TEP. My understanding is that up north in Phoenix, the Salt River Project and what's the other?
APS.
APS.
APS, they don't require these trip switches of the schools. It's TEP that's protecting their grid at our expense.
There you go.
Okay, yes.
There you go.
And that-
We have to
that's
fight
something
that. That's what we
It's
have
not
to
for us.
fight.
That's not for us.
Whether it costs us more or not, we have to
Well-
fight that. How can you let the government, because it's saying you have to do this, we let them do it because we're gonna say, hey, don't go ahead and walk all over me. I don't care. I don't know why I'm here if you're gonna walk all over me. You have to put up a wall and say, you know what? We're not going to go along with this, whether it costs us more or not. That's the reason they have these different committees
That's what we're
to
here.
do this.
So we can relay that message back to the governing board and back to Sun Renew saying, you know what? No, if that's your recommendation. That's
But
what
we
we're-
didn't say no yet.
Yes.
You're assuming that we're gonna say no. I didn't tell you no.
No, but-
What I said is you did not inform us. That's the
That's
problem.
the first time.
Whether it's one day, you said the 24th of March, what's today? What's today?
Today is April 17th.
Okay, so how many days is between then and now?
How many days, how many meetings have we had since March 24th?
One? None? Okay, so you couldn't have done it a special meeting like we were told months ago that we could have special meetings if something came up that we needed to hear about. That's what I'm saying. You had the prerogative to go ahead and say, no, we're not gonna call a special meeting, get whatever people we got there to understand that what we have to do is by law. You didn't do that. Did you?
No, we have a regular scheduled
Okay,
meeting.
so then that's what I'm saying. You had enough time to do that, but you did not.
This meeting was scheduled already, so there was no need, there was no emergency.
So you just waited until the scheduling of our meeting
Yes, sir.
to go ahead and inform us that now we have to either do it or we're gonna get charged more. Why didn't you give us the 30 days or the 20 days or 15 days to go over it so that when we got to this point, we could say, you know what? I don't like what you've done, but you were gonna go ahead and go along with it.
Well-
You didn't do that.
That's an option available to the committee. If you feel that you don't have enough time or need more information to make a decision or recommendation, you can say postpone it, table this item, bring it back in April, bring it back in May, whenever you want.
Well, that's not the way I understood you were telling it. Like right now, I thought you were saying, if you don't agree tonight, we're done. You're gonna get charged more for the things that they're going to do with
Ultimately,
TEP.
if the decision is made tonight, okay, saying you don't recommend that bond.
Well, let's get a special meeting in 2 weeks that we go over the same thing again. We don't have to be once a month. It can be more than once a month.
That's-
The people that don't want to show up don't have to show up.
And that's an agenda item, is how often you're gonna meet this coming year, so. Anyway,
Mr. Ragoo?
Cindy, with respect to the third-party advisor that we used,
Right,
did they know of this transfer?
no, not till we found out.
They didn't know about it
They
either.
did not, no.
With respect to TEP and other school districts,
They are requiring other school districts to do it now.
high school,
Depends on, see, on this particular grid that we're talking about for Sunnyside High School, what's on it is this administration building, Los Ranchitos, Sunnyside High School, Ocotillo, and Sierra. It's all on the same grid. And that transfer trip switch is a protection item that they want to install on it. Because they're saying that we will be producing way too much energy, to make it safe. If there's a break in the system or something on the outside of our system goes down, there's a 2-second delay and it shuts all of our generating power down.
that explains, go ahead, you wanna just go ahead and read that,
Okay.
what is a transfer trip?
Yeah, I put this together to kind of help explain what this device is, and like I said, they have it specifically manufactured according to the size. And what they explained to us is with all this growing solar in Tucson, now they are requiring this on certain sizes of production. And we're going to meet that size over there at Desert View, but we determined to downsize and not have to pay the $450,000 plus the $50,000 grid study, and just do one school only, and then upgrade that so we could maintain what our original savings that we were striving for. The connecting distributed generation facilities to the utility grid creates challenges, and one of them being anti-islanding protection, and that's what they call us, is an island of energy. Islanding happens when there's a break on a section of the grid between the substation, that's TEP substation, and the DG site. Interconnected DGs can be safety hazard if the DG continues to operate in an island situation. The DG can become overloaded when forced to power the isolated line, creating voltage conditions that can damage other power and users' equipment. So, that would be, even our equipment could become damaged if it doesn't have that instant shutdown. A reliable and cost-effective solution is needed to detect and protect against the case. To prevent a long sustained islanding case, TEP is requiring that we install a DG disconnect from the grid within 2 seconds of the detection of an islanding condition. This is to be signaled by a transfer trip command to the recloser of the DG site to trip and cause it to open and physically disconnect the generator from the line.
So it's really on their behalf, to
For their
protect
behalf.
their grid at our expense. For their behalf,
But
at our
they're
expense.
requiring the other school districts to do it now too, so.
This is
because of
within-
the amount of generation of solar.
This is within Pima County.
Yes.
As far as anything outside EPS and whatnot, they're not mandated to do anything like that. So my next question would be, Hector, has the school board, the board themselves had this information?
No, sir, no,
No,
first
no.
goes to BOC,
No.
and then it'll go to
Okay.
if it goes to the board.
Yeah, and what I've done too is I've asked for a delay in our timelines because you only have a certain amount of time also to get connected to meet that net metering from when we first entered it all into the system. And that's what was, I'll tell you, it was a shock and disappointing to us when they came in and met with us and just laid it out, this is what you gotta have, you know. They're the power company, they have the power, you know.
Now, is there a deadline they've set for this to go into effect?
We've already maxed out our deadline. Our first deadline in the power clerk for Sunnyside and Desert View, they're on hold because of this. So, and there's a lot of steps that goes through their power clerk. And it seems like there's a lot of misunderstandings out there when they see these structures start going up and then they don't see any workers out, you know, out there. But it's because, you know, TEP has so many steps through the power clerk system. And matter of fact, I got a call from our liaison from TEP 2 Fridays ago that wanted to send an email to SunRenew and Wilson Electric and tell them to lay off on sending them so many emails about trying to push them to the next step. And I said, if you send it to them, you have to send it to me too, because I'm the one that's pushing it on behalf of our community and our parents. You know, it's causing, you know, safety hazards when it comes to our parking lots and having to park on the streets or across the street, and parents are having to tote their kids, one in their arm and one by hand and one pushing a stroller, you know, and there's no crosswalk there because it's not parking, you know, legitimate parking. We can't do this all in the summertime. You know, we're, you know, really close to buildings in some respects, and they have to reroute kids to different exits, and we're, you know, because they don't want them going out near a fence that's on a playground. We have to stay off the soccer fields. We have to, you know, there's just limited space on the playground. But what I did, and I showed Hector a news article that was from 2014. TEP, or TUSD got 43 sites in 2014 with solar on for a savings in 30 years of 11 million. We're getting on 24 sites for 30 years, and our savings is going to be a total of 50 million. So we pushed it to the max because we knew that we weren't going to have a second chance at this. And I'm glad that we did, you know, but in order to meet that now, you know, TEP is not going to let us go any further on Sunnyside unless we get that trip.
Mr. Grant?
What I don't like about this whole thing is that you're saying that they have all the power. If that's how we ran everything in here in this democracy, we would never get anywhere. That's why you have to have people stand up and say, you know what? You can't do that to me. I'm not going to bend over and let you do it to me. You have to fight. Whether you like it or not, you have to fight. That's all I gotta say.
Hector,
Yes, sir.
if we say no to this tonight, does it not go before the board whatsoever? So they won't even review it, is that correct?
That's up to the superintendent. It's not, I can't.
Again, we're a recommending body to the board,
Right,
the
I
governing
understand.
board. So whether we completely say no, that doesn't mean that the governing board isn't gonna say yes.
Well,
That's
We're
it.
gonna have our
They
recommendation.
actually don't have to pay any attention to it
Yeah.
if they want to. We know that, but we're still here. We can still get out into the public and say, look, this is what the superintendent did, and we didn't want it. That's how you fight back. You don't have to have all the power. You just have to have a good reason to do something. That's it.
see, the other option that's available to the district, and you have it here before.
And like I said,
Okay.
we haven't said no yet.
I know, but the
You're
other-
assuming that we're saying no. We haven't said no yet.
In in the attempt to be fully transparent, okay? Option number 6 is the other option that we had, okay? Well, that is basically saying, Box said no, okay? We took it to the board said, if Box said no, it's no. Then the only other option we have is option 6, okay? And option 6 says that the district will tell Sunrenew, go ahead and increase the SSS rate over the next 20 years, and the savings that will result, instead of paying 0.092 per kilowatt hour to begin with, we'll be paying 0.11 cents per kilowatt hour with a 2% escalator per year. At the end of 20 years, we'll still save $4.5 million instead of $5.7 million. Okay, so those are the options. No, the other option available to the district is number 6. Yes, then it's option number 5. So.
Any more discussion on this? Any further questions?
Of course,
Sir,
if we say no, and the board, chances are they're going to see it anyway. They say to go ahead and do it. Basically, they may say no, and if they say no, then you're out 1.5 million.
Yeah. Well, the district's out 1.5
The
million.
district.
The M&O budget is
Bottom line is, it doesn't come out of pocket.
right.
That's our number.
Bond say 500,000. M&O budget cost 1.5 million.
You save the 1.5 million over 10 years?
Over 20.
Over the 10 years or over the first year?
20.
20?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we have a motion to recommend that contingent upon receipt of written response from legal counsel, that the bond advisory committee recommends expenditure of bond funds to pay for no more than $500,000 of the unexpected and unanticipated solar project expenditures, interconnection studies, and additional equipment, trip switch? We have no motion?
So my question would be this, it says, upon receipt of written response from legal counsel.
I think they've already
Yeah, I think that's
We just received it.
Yeah.
Seeing no motion on the floor, move on to the next agenda item. Apollo and Challenger gym floor proposed solution to gym floor damages.
I'd like to remove that item from the agenda, or just let me just discuss it rather than remove it. We met, if you recall, we had new gym floors installed at Challenger and Apollo, and the cost of the floor at Apollo was $54,417.51. This was back in 2017. The floor was installed at the recommendation of our project manager at that time. The base of the gym at Apollo was a vinyl tile, and the installer recommended that the tile be removed and then the new urethane floor be poured over bare concrete. In order to save funds, the recommendation by the project manager is now go ahead, just pour it over the existing tile. It should be okay. Well, over now 2 years, the urethane covering is popping up in places where the tile is popping up with the concrete. So we contacted the installer, and one of the things in the proposal was that they would not warranty a floor and could not guarantee the base unless the tile had been removed. So there is no warranty on the popping of the urethane cover. We met with them and discussed this issue, and we were under the impression that he was going to give us a proposal for a wood floor that would be cost-wise close to what we paid for the original urethane floor. That's what the initial communication was. We received two proposals. One, to remove the existing urethane, remove the existing tile, put a new urethane cover on it, and that's close to $60,000. Or remove the urethane and remove the tile and put a wood floor over it, and that's going to be $139,000. After discussing this with Mr. Valencia, Mr. Valdez, and our recommendation is at this point in time, just let the floor stay as is. We'll make repairs as is, as needed, and see how long the floor lasts, rather than spend another $60,000 to put the same kind of floor on it. So that would be the recommendation, just.
Hector, I think, when we discussed it, I think that was one of the questions I think Mr. Hernandez maybe even had for Mr. Gomez at the time was about the tile, and I think that one of the things he said, the tile was so old and was stuck so good, and it may have been asbestos.
Yeah, it could have been some asbestos issues also, yes.
And that it was best said to left like, you be left like that, and that the polyurethane would adhere
Hold
to
it.
that and would hold it. I mean, that was my recollection. I don't know if anybody else remembers that conversation. Lori?
Yeah, I agree with that, but I had another question on this. These estimates you're giving us, were they both for Apollo and Challenger?
No, just
or
Apollo.
Just Apollo, just Apollo?
Challenger-
Anything on Challenger?
No, the vendor went and checked out Challenger, and he said there's no issues there at Challenger.
Challenger's floor's fine then?
Yeah. So at this point,
There would only be
there's no
Apollo.
request of VOC for any funding for Apollo's.
Information.
Yeah.
Did you have a question, Mr. Cruz? Lori, you have a question?
No, so you're gonna go ahead and just let it ride for now?
We'll just wear it out, see how long it lasts, make some minor repairs, and see how long the floor lasts. And then
Could you?
it's a lot better than the tile they used to have, if we
Well,
recall.
yeah, it was nasty as heck.
The slip
But
and sliding.
could you bring us a picture
Sure.
for next meeting to show exactly, because I just haven't had a chance to get out there.
Mr. Hernandez?
So are we gonna buy enough flooring extra to repair the repairs that need to be doing, rather than waiting until we need repairs and then trying to buy something that's the same color or the same type of wood or flooring that whatever they're gonna put in? Or are we just gonna wait until the end, like I just said, and try to purchase something that looks like it, rather than purchasing enough so that you can make a few repairs for a few years after the time limit on it, that it's, the lifetime is gone?
Mr. Portillo, you're familiar with the type of urethane that was there any, I mean, we had issues regarding the cleaning of that floor.
Yes.
And did we make any repairs and get any materials, surplus materials to make minor repairs ourselves?
What they suggested to us when we had a repair to be done over at Challenger Middle School was to use some super glue. So it's not in sections, it's one big, I'm not sure how the application was done, process was done, but it looks like they rolled it out and it was just like roofing, like a coat of roofing cement. And so it adhered, it sat, and that's the only thing they told us to do for repairs, use super glue.
Does it work?
Not necessarily.
If not, we'll buy some Flex Seal.
Yeah, that's good stuff. It is good.
And,
It's
Do you,
not. It
do you
doesn't
mean
work.
they told you just to put it right over the part that has to be repaired, rather than taking it down to the substrate and then trying to do it again?
Yes, sir.
Why would you do that?
It wouldn't, not me.
What they do is with the urethane, they put it in buckets, they mix it, they spread it out on the floor, then they spray sand on it, whether you want it colored or not. That's all they do.
It
So
doesn't
what's the
have that-
problem
it
with
doesn't have
sanding
that-
it down in the
It
place
doesn't
where
have
it's...
coating, sir. It's just like rubber. It's a synthetic, a polyurethane synthetic, and I've never seen the application, I've never seen this material ever, and so what they told us to do is put the super glue into the hole or the tear, and then push it together, and that should keep it sealed. That should prevent it from spreading, and we used it, and it's worked somewhat. That was their idea of repairing, sir.
So-
Commercial, good enough.
And we knew
Are
this
there any
before
safety-
we
safety-
applied this, that would be what would happen?
Is there any concerns for safety? We haven't seen it yet on Challenger's floor. We have to wait to see with Apollo's. I'm sorry, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I said, when it was applied, did we know that that's what you have to do when you apply this material and you have places where you need to replace it? Did they go over that?
No,
in the
sir.
discussion?
They did, with me and with Mr. Valdez, when we were there at the one meeting we did attend, it was, we can fix this place over here at Apollo. When we've asked them for guidance and instructions, the company, the installers, the manufacturers, we asked them, how do we make repairs with this? Their only information was super glue. That's the only thing they told us to
But
use.
that's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking you is, did you and the other party that's interested in this, did either of you ask them before it was applied that it was gonna need that type of repair only that they could do?
I could only speak for myself and Mr. Valdez and Mr. Valdez and Mr. Citizen saying, we weren't privy to that. because
Okay,
we
it's
weren't involved
because
in
you
that.
did not ask, right?
We weren't involved with this, sir. We were not involved in.
Okay, then who was?
Mr. Gomez.
Gomez.
Michael
Mr. Gomez. So we took this, we picked up the ball and running for that.
Okay.
So,
Then there's no sense in talking to you, because if you didn't initiate the thing,
no, sir.
then you're not the one we should be talking to.
In the defense of Mr. Gomez, he was, he did the best that he can with the funds that he had. I mean, he was out looking out for the best interest of the school district. We never anticipated that this,
Can I ask
Issue
another
would
question before
arise.
you get too far along? When was this initiated that they do the flooring?
May 17,
May 2017.
2017, May of 2017,
Almost 3
May of 2017.
almost 2 years, yes.
I don't remember going over this discussion in May about this type of flooring. I don't know. Did we?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Then I'm wrong.
If you recall, we had a parent that came in here complaining about their child
Slipping and sliding.
slipping and sliding at the Challenger
Yes.
gym. And then Apollo had a similar type of floor. That's when we decided let's address both floors at the same time. That's what we did, Challenger and Apollo. They both had vinyl tile, just tiles.
Well, that was one of the questions we should ask. How do you repair it before we started anything? Because that's one of the first things you want to know. How can we repair this? Because nothing lasts forever. We know that. You don't have to be very smart to know that nothing is forever.
So,
We just screwed up.
taxes, right? Death and taxes?
Yeah. So right now, there's not gonna be anything that we're gonna decide on, this is just information.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have any questions? If not, moving on. Okay, future projects, procedure for identification and consideration to approve. Mr. Encinas?
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, and I think this agenda item is very timely in light of the discussions we've been having this meeting. We've only got roughly $9 million to spend, 9.3 million, well, we have over $10 million, of which $809,129 must be spent by June 30th, 2020. $9.3 million must be spent by November of 2021. The amount that we have to spend, roughly the $9 million I referred to earlier, is broken down into those different areas. As we progress and get closer to 2021, how does the committee want to approach and consider future projects? Because that's what you're here for. Okay, we don't want to be bringing projects to you, what process you want to be implemented to identify what projects you'll consider and fund for the remainder of the life of this box.
I want to complete what we've started. What, like you say, money isn't covered for that, but actually has a project been completed? Because we've, in the past, again, like looking at the forest, we run into problems. And if we spent, say, $100,000 on a floor, we do need to repair it. It's unfortunate that we put that money out and then we have to come back and do it, but we don't want it to look shabby. The thing is, we had made the decision to have an architect look at the dugouts and the bleachers for Desert View. So we need to go forward with that. But I don't know as far as other projects. Has anybody brought any to you?
We still have the other ones that have been in discussion for
That's
quite a few
true.
months, the
I
one
forget.
for,
Cotillo, Gallego,
Cotillo
Chapinito.
Oh, yeah, the
and
parking
Gallego
lot.
Fine Arts, both of those with.
And plus what we have on here today.
So I think the Ocotillo, if I can recall, maybe the design might be a little bit impacted by the addition of the
Solar.
solar.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
what
we
we're waiting
have-
for.
And then we have the Gallego grounds also, that's out in limbo.
Somewhere.
And that's gonna be a nice chunk.
So if I hear you correctly, basically you want to finish the project that we've initiated to be completed,
That's my purpose.
and then any other project you might approve tonight. And then after that, just step back and then visit
Let's
sites?
see what comes,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay, then visit sites.
Let's visit sites and see
Okay.
where our priorities lie, because we're getting down to the end.
Okay.
I know that it helps a lot more, find out
Yeah.
what's out there that's really needed versus what's wanted.
Yeah, go back to priority.
Got the direction. Thank you.
We need a motion on that.
No, ma'am. No.
No motion.
Info.
Action.
It's a recommendation for.
So that the motion would be recommendation to
Complete the projects
complete projects that are,
currently
yeah,
have been approved, and not initiate any new projects until
Till-
those are completed, at which time then the BOC committee will be taking site visits to identify projects.
and I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second? Second. Roll call?
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Higgins? Yeah. Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei?
Yes.
Mr. Verdugo?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Encina.
Thank you.
Okay, on E, Administration Complex Paving Project, Mr. Encinas.
We miss Robert.
Meeting date.
Oh, did I miss one?
Is the meeting date
Oh, I'm
set?
sorry.
Yeah,
I
meeting
missed
dates
D, I'm sorry.
is here.
Backing up a little bit here, Bond Advisory Committee proposed meeting dates for the school year 2019-2020. Mr. Encina.
Yes, sir. Right now, the committee is scheduled to work, to meet once a month. Given the projects that are currently on board, and given the agenda item we just addressed, it may not be necessary to meet every month. So some discussion about meeting quarterly, or maybe once every 2 months. Just brought this agenda item for your discussion and decision.
Well, if we did go to another date rather than the once a month, say twice, every 2 months, with the projects that need to be done, like we've had a few times where they say this is an emergency, would we be notified and called in so we could give an opinion on it? Or
Yes.
would you just go ahead
Which-
and do whatever you feel like doing and then call us and tell us, hey, you know what? This is what we just did. We'd like for you to approve it.
Well, first of all, I'd like to correct you because we never do that. This is what we just did. We won't do anything unless you have your recommendation and second of all, the board's approval. Without your recommendation and the board's approval, we can't say, this is what we just did, okay?
Well,
In
Mr.
the event
Holmes-
that happens though, I mean, there's something that comes up, and we schedule once every 2 months, let's call a special meeting, a special emergency meeting to meet. That's the protocol. We will not do anything without your recommendation. I'm sorry, sir. Okay, please, let me clarify that.
Okay.
Don't you ever think that we're doing
Well, I
something?
seem to remember a time when Mr. Holmes and the board did something that we did not get notified until after it was already done.
I don't recall what it was.
But I can't remember right now what it is.
It was an emergency with
If on the next meeting I remember, I'll tell you.
chiller.
It might have been Chiller.
A chiller
At Desert View, huh?
at Desert View.
It might have been that. Through there.
Emergency, yeah.
Mr.
Yes, sir, Ms. Lopez.
I just want, the comment was, at the board agenda setting meeting, I made the comment about the meeting dates, because money's running out. Some of lost my word here. The projects we have going are incomplete,
You gotta finish
and
it.
I want to get things done before we go on to anything else, and have something that's not completed. That's why I kind of made the suggestion about changing the dates to meeting every 2 months.
I would like to make a suggestion that we complete everything, and then we can go on to a 2-month waiting period. But until we get everything done, nothing will be done as far as changing the date. That's how I feel.
So at this point, we're scheduled to meet monthly, but if we don't need to meet, we'll meet starting 2019, 2020, then,
In August.
which will be in August, right? Would our first meeting then be July 17th? There's options here. Option A says monthly, and there's a schedule of the monthly meetings. And then B, every 2 months is the schedule of the proposed meetings. And then Schedule C just shows 4 meetings, one in July, one in January, one in July, one in October, January, and April. So
In August, will everything be complete?
I doubt it.
Well, if we have to wait 1 more month, that's what I'm saying. Wait the month so that we know exactly what's going on, and then say, hey, you know what? Everything's complete. We're asking you to go to 2 months. Or a quarter, by the quarter, however.
This affects every member of the box, so when Ms. Higgins and Mr. Verdu, anybody has anything to add here, how would you add your part also, because, I mean,
I have no problem with B, every 2 months.
Me neither.
It'll be contingency of the fact, as the matter you just stated. If there's an emergency, obviously, a meeting will be called.
So that'd be option B.
Yes, that's my,
this is an item that needs a motion.
Yeah. So I recommend that the bond advisory committee approve the fee schedule for our monthly meetings.
Meeting every 2 months.
Okay, meeting every, yeah.
I
Starting-
second.
Starting August 21st.
so, I'm sorry. Starting August 21st, so,
Next month we'll meet, the next month we'll meet monthly until August 21st.
oh, okay.
Until August 21st, then we'll go
As long
every
as
2
it's clear.
months.
All right.
Yeah,
It will be May and June,
yeah.
Okay.
that's it, and then August.
Okay.
'Cause
Got it.
Second.
Second, roll call, please.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Higgins? Yes. Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei? Yes. Mr. Verdu?
Yes. Okay, now, getting back on track here, apologize, administration complex pavement project, Mr. Encinas.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Valdez, person that you never said no to.
Good evening, Mr. Rodriguez, members of the board. At the request, I've been asked to receive some quotes to repave the complex, not just for the administration, the main complex, but all of the paved areas around the complex, which are deteriorated, large potholes, and need extensive repairs. And it's part of the solar project where they did a lot of the construction out there, and not just here, but over the transportation area. And then we've had a lot of areas that have deteriorated. So I've gotten a hold of 3 contractors to get their quotes, and what I've prepared is sort of a comparison sheet between all of them. I've also been asked to invite one of the contractors, which is Gordian, it's the third and last one there. And they are the contractor in this, and they would be bringing on their subcontractor who will actually do the work. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Matt Burnett from Gordian, and then the representatives that he's brought with him.
So just a little clarification. Gordian, we're the managers of the state JOC. And Tucson Asphalt is one of the selected contractors done through a statewide solicitation. So we oversee the projects, we oversee the implementation of the contract for the state of Arizona. Any proposals that go through our hands to a customer are going to be reviewed. We have price books in place. And, but other than that, the project, I'll let Tucson Asphalt. I've got some information I'll pass out to you guys that explain a little more.
Questions? Any questions?
I'll bring up a question with respect to the last statement, repair of area dependent on soil conditions after millings and recommendations from engineer.
Excuse me, I can answer that question. That comment was placed in there, if you look at the asterisk, which is under the transportation, the fuel island, which is the first one, where it says 2 inches of asphalt, 1 inch green asphalt. Tucson Asphalt has made that comment that the repair of that, because what's happened over the years, it's deteriorated, and if you've ever been out there after a good solid rain, the water just puddles, and you can see it percolating through the cracks in the asphalt down into the ground. So that comment is there as a disclaimer that should they start milling and find anything else down there where the ground is deteriorated and it needed additional work to it, then that's what they're putting that disclaimer in there. It's because that water the drainage there has to be redone, and there's no drainage, and that I physically have to get out there with a pump to pump the water out of that area and down the drain, because it hasn't been addressed over the years. And so that's one of the goals in this whole project, is to address that. So I'll let Mr. Herrick and the gentlemen from Tucson Asphalt explain the process that they're recommending.
Mr. Valdez?
Yes, sir.
Should we first make some comments as to the proposal that we received and why we're not recommending the low bidder?
So when we look at the different products that are being brought forward, I don't have to go into the vendors themselves. If we look at the product and what it is, the first vendor is recommending 3 inches of asphalt with a slurry seal, which is a traditional pavement asphalt type of not substructure, but the asphalt underneath it, and then just pretty much go over with a slurry seal to seal it. Kind of like the way Ms. Lopez put it, and it's kind of what we got over at Los Ranchitos, where it's a slurry seal over the top of like a paint job. So they would just tear it, they would mill it up, put the asphalt down, put the paint job over. The problem that I have with that personally is that you're not addressing what's underneath it, and you have the potential to be right back to where we're at now, and having that asphalt underneath it cracks. So if the asphalt underneath the slurry seal cracks, those cracks manifest themselves back up, start absorbing water, and we're right back at it. Plus, that vendor only is giving us, normally, in his words, it's a 1-year warranty is what we give you, but because of the work that we've done with the district, we'll give you a 2-year warranty. So in 2 years, we could potentially be starting to see a lot of the cracks everywhere else in what we have now. The second vendor, all they want to do is come in, patch the potholes, and then give us a slurry seal on top of that, which is, again, just a paint job over it, and we'll be right back to where we're at. And they only want to give us a 30-month warranty. And these gentlemen come in with a different kind of product, are willing to give us a 4-year warranty, and that's why I invited Mr. Cornett to bring them along. Yes.
When you had this condition over here on the fuel island,
Yes, sir.
is that just typical because of the fuel island, because of the fuel, or is?
Well, what happened? Yeah, we can talk. I can talk about that real quick. In a real quick summary, and Mr. Herrick can go into it a little further. What happens is, because the island is at a slope into that area, anytime that there's oils or diesel fuel that has run off and it gathers into that area, it deteriorates the asphalt.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
So is this green asphalt going to help in that process because of the fuels, or is it going to have the same condition?
We're going to address that real soon here, and not dance around it.
If I can make one more comment to this also. One of the things that we did utilize this is back in 2016, I believe it was, we had EEC come out and do a full survey report on that. And that report was given to Tucson Asphalt and the other vendors. And Vendor A on this has said that there would be no engineering to that, as part of their bid, is that there would be no engineering included in their bid, and that they would only bring the asphalt up to the previous conditions. So they wouldn't address the drainage or anything else in there.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Joe Herrick, and I'm with Tucson Asphalt Contractors. And back there is Alan Shepard. He is our head estimator with Tucson Asphalt Contractors.
Yes, sir.
Chairman Rodriguez, thank you, and the Bond Oversight Committee, thank you for having us here. You know, I want to, when we first started looking at your parking lots around here, we noticed the fuel island, and it really caught our attention. And in fact, we asked when we received a report that you put together in 2015. November of 2015 by Mr. Sexto Molina. And this report here is saying you've got a drainage problem over there next to your fuel island. And we are not going to go over there and just put asphalt on something that has a drainage problem. There is a electrical box that it runs by. It also adds to your problem in your north parking lot. We're going to be recommending that you stay with the engineering company or find someone else to get that drainage problem fixed before we pave. If you put the project off 1 year because of that, that's fine. You got to do the right thing. And like you said, get it fixed before you go forward. I will leave this report with you to hand out. The report. It's stated 4 years ago. Now, I'll get on with the PowerPoint. Do I talk to you, or do I push buttons?
You can use the space bar, or you can tell me, however you prefer.
Yeah, I'll just go next. Yeah, I can't shoot on off at the same time.
He's good at the next.
Next.
Good at that. All right, next.
Again, Tucson Asphalt Contractors. We are a local company. We've been in business 23 years. We are a company that ranges from 35 to 50 employees, depending on the season. But what I'm here to talk about is green asphalt. It is a product that we developed back in 2006. And I'm going to be referring this package here to you. And I'm going to slow it down a little bit, so when I'm talking, I hold up a sheet. You got the sheet in front of you to ask me the hard questions, okay? We have an exit, okay, good. We're nice people. We developed this green asphalt because what has happened, the last 40 years, asphalt has deteriorated in manufacturing. It used to be oil refineries would get the oil, take down and have this much oil left down in the bottom of the, let's say, the can. And the rest of that would be used for asphalt. And what has happened is they've gotten very efficient. The quality of asphalt has deteriorated in the last 30 years. We developed this product called green asphalt, and these are some of the things it does. It's a faster installation because we're going to be going over your existing asphalt. And I'm going to go into details about that. It increased lifespan. We put a 4-year warranty on this. 4 years. Smaller carbon footprint. And I'm going to show you that also. Because what we're using is ground rubber tires with polymers. Tires and asphalt is nothing new. It's been around for decades. But what we've done is we get it very granular. And that's what it looks like. We mix it in at the plant, Vulcan Materials, over on the west side, with the polymers and our trademarked binders. It's a more convenient process. And I've really got to stress this. What has happened is a lot of these companies want to come in, pull up all your old asphalt, and then they're going to have to recompact and come in and put 2 inches over, or 3. What we do is go over your existing asphalt with a 1-inch overlay of green. And this is what it looks like when it goes down. Again, we've been putting it down since 2006. reduce cost. You'll see that in your package too. Let's go to the next slide. We call it green asphalt. We call it green because it's environmental, but also it saves money. Let's go on to the next slide. It's immediately drivable. After we put it down, you can drive on it within an hour, probably even less than that.
I've got a question. Like you say, you bring this and lay it over the existing asphalt that's there now. What about like your potholes and stuff that are in the parking lots or, so when you drop that, it's gonna be more than 2 inches then in that one particular spot? Or to bring out that hole up to even level?
I understand your question, and here goes. There are going to be some areas where we're going to have cracks and we're going to have holes. We may have to cut it out and fill it with regular asphalt, then go over with it. And there might be some areas in your parking lot that are so bad, we have a machine that will mill it out. You have a few areas here we're going to have to do some milling. There's no doubt about that. Nice thing about the eliminates damage to your underground water, but how does that happen? Usually when you have a milling project go on, you have a milling machine go over the parking lot or the roadway. And that vibration can, affect your water, your sewer, and anything that's underneath that asphalt. We don't have to go through all of that. Cuts roadway noise by well over 50%. How? The rubber. Let's go on to the next slide. Fast install eliminates long-term disruption. In other words, we have to prep the surface with a bonding agent. We have to do some milling. We don't have to pull everything out and take it to a landfill. Not everything. Some we're going to have to. No removal and regrading. I keep stressing that. Let's go on to the next one. Longer lasting, shorter installation, and decreased maintenance. On a lot of your products that go down, chip seal, fogging, or even a mill and overlay, you usually have to seal it right off the bat. Move on to the next one. It's up to 2.5 times stronger than conventional asphalt. When I say conventional asphalt, if I start throwing terms around, say shut up and talk to me. Are you familiar with PAG 2 mix or PAG 3 mix, Pima Associates? It's a standardized mix of asphalt that everyone uses in your parking lots and on the roadways here. It's the government standard. This green is 2.5 times stronger than conventional. Greater flexibility and durability because of the rubber. And a higher use resistance. Less drying out because of the polymers and more oil that we put into it. Let's go on to the next one. Also reduces the amount of asphalt tires that end up in the landfill, which we can go on to the next one. Reduces all the hydrant water needed for dust control because we're not creating that big dust when we're pulling things up, pulling up old asphalt. Next one. So dust and mud from regrading. Let me make sure this is clear. Eliminates 3 or 4 carbon emission trucks because we're not running trucks in and out. Hauling things to a landfill, bringing it in new, not having to do that. 2 inches of your older asphalt, and now some specifications with the cities, Tucson, Oro Valley, they're now requesting 3 inches of asphalt. Hauled out and back versus 1 inch of new green hauled in. Let's go to the next one. Here's the environmental savings. On a typical 100,000 square foot paving job, this is the one that most people want to look at. How many tires? But this is really the most important one, is the CO2 emissions. The biggest producers of CO2 emissions in the world, India, China, United States, is making asphalt and concrete. Say 550 tons on sand and gravel. And I've got a lot of this in here for you. Let's go on to the next slide. You're saving more than just the environment. On to the next one. Greater durability, increased life, less maintenance. The nice thing is when we put this 4-year warranty on it, we've had projects that in their 4th, 5th, 6th years, we have not had to do any fogging, we have not had to do any chip seal. Reduced cost, no sealing needed for 4 to 5 years. That's why we put a 4-year warranty on it. No other asphalt company's offering any of that. Saves up to 50% or more over 10 years. How's that? Because usually after the 4th or 5th year, you have to, I know you haven't done it here, but you're supposed to, seal your asphalt every 2 years. And that usually just doesn't happen. Unmatched 4-year warranty, and on to the next one. And this is in your packet. And it's in your packet, it's the second from last sheet. The reason I want to point this out right away, before I get to the others, in 2017, the Pima County Transportation Advisory Committee was trying to figure out which roads get fog sealed, which gets chip sealed, microsurface, here's green asphalt, and what we've done is we've broken out, the county has, per square yard. But also look, fog seal is basically a paint. Chip seal, here. So just to demonstrate, these are chips with oil. And it's about that thick when it goes down. And sometimes say, geez, it's a microchip. We put special rubber on it. That's all it is a chip. And sometimes, well, we're going to do a double shot. We're going to put 2 coats of this chip on it. It's still a chip. So, I don't know who our competitors were, but we were not talking apples to apples. We're talking, ours is a watermelon. Let's take a look at this again. And here goes. You're going to see this in some of the other paperwork in there. Mill and overlay, expected life 15 years, reconstruct. Mill and overlay, that's another term for remove and then regrade. It's just another term. Here we come in at $8 or $9 per square yard, and this is how much per mile. Again, paint. I don't know how else to say it. I could use some fancy term about chemicals. Paint with rock. Paint with fancy rock.
I call it mopping.
Let's go on to the next one. Ah, good. This was our first project we ever did. 2006. This is, here goes. Any of you want to call me, my name and card is inside that packet there. I will take you to any of these projects. It's on that list that you see on here. This one is 2006. Green asphalt, our first project we ever did. We go up there about once every month to take different cities, counties, and institutions up there to show them the durability. There's also a video on our website, if you take a look, that there's the president of this HOA talks about having us back up there to do more of their projects. But again, you're probably going, well, geez, 2006, that's 13 years ago, and you're going to see a list of all the projects. It's the very last page. And it's this one here. You're probably going, 2006, what the heck happened? You didn't do anything. Well, there was this thing called the recession. We could not give asphalt away. We were down to 10 people. It just wasn't happening. And when the economy started picking up, we started picking up more projects. Green asphalt has disrupted the market, and I'm not saying this lightly. The city of Tucson, just 2 days ago, with their transportation department, just put an RFP out asking for maintenance on the streets through a bond package they passed a couple of years ago. In fact, Prop 101, asking for 5-year warranties. That's never happened. It's always been a standard 1-year warranty. We are disrupting the market with green. In fact, and I'm going to go back again, the history of using ground rubber tires is nothing new. It really isn't. But all we did is we just took it smaller. We did not use what they call crumb rubber, which is a little bit bigger chunks. That's not our product. And it's not recycled asphalt. Let's go on to the next one.
Yes.
Oh, this is something to consider, especially when we're talking about that fuel island that has a little bit of a problem. La Buena Vida is River and Craycroft. It's a subdivision. In fact, when we started this in 2014, we go back there this summer to do number 5. We're doing it in sections. We're doing it in sections. And in fact, right behind the green asphalt poster is this little newspaper article. We had a lot of press last year. I don't know if any of you saw it, but you're going to see a lot of press on us. And in the yellow, this is La Buena Vida. His name is David Starr. He works for Caterpillar Machinery. He's the one leading the charge on this. So we've had 4 phases. And the 4 phases are mentioned in the list again. You'll see phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, starting from 14, 15, 16, 17. Look how rough that was. And this was going over the existing asphalt. Now some of this we're probably going to have to take out. Well, we did take it out. But the vast majority is in pretty good shape. What we call line and grade, we just wanted to have it like flat. We can't do it when it's like this, because we've seen roads and we've had parking lots and we won't touch them. We won't touch them. But the line and grade was good. Excuse me, let's go on to the next one. Edgebrook. This one scared the living daylights out of us. It's still good. We did this back, like I said, 4 years ago, September. It's just around the corner from our office. That one was a challenge. I don't think we'd ever do anything that bad again, though, to be honest with you. But these were a neighborhood that had a special assessment that they put upon themselves, and they're familiar with the green. Next one, please. Pima Hollow. I do have a Pima Hollow picture in there, in this package. Yep. And Pima Hollow, you'll see the before, after this was done, well, May 2017. I got stapled to it another sheet. Take a look at that back sheet. I think that's one of the competitors who's probably on the Mojave contract. And I want to clarify something. I'm going to stop and back up. We're not part of Mojave. We couldn't get on Mojave. They do it every 3 or 4 years, and they pick, and that's what you're stuck with.
Thank you.
We heard about the Gordian people, and we decided to go through the Arizona Department of Administration, who's contracted Gordian to run these projects. And so that's how we get to use Gordian. So we're in Region 7, which is Peter County. But here's another thing, and you will love this. Every single project that is done by Gordian and ADOA is totally auditable. Every bit of it. The state will stand by it. Next one. Yeah, this is Pima Hollow again. 2-inch conventional pulverized remove. Again, it was one of our competitors, a well-known one here in town. They're a good company, but they don't have green. They're just used to doing things that have been done for 30, 40 years. We came in with the green, 75. There was nothing added on. When we went in there, we took care of everything, and that was in it. We have never had to have one go back or come back to them and say, we've got to do this or do this. That's the price, we give it to you. Plus, Gordian locks us into it. We can't change it. Next one, please. Oh, this was a really cool one for us. The U of A Technology Park. And on the left-hand side of your packet, you open your packet on the left-hand side. This is the way their road looked. What we did, I thought I was not communicating well enough how an overlay works. So I thought pictures are worth 1,000 words. And it's this one right here. You got it? Take a close look. That's the 1-inch overlay. And then I wanted to really straight. Green asphalt is not seal coat, a slurry seal, microserving, poly chip, fog seal, recycled asphalt, or any combination thereof. It is totally different. So when people go, oh God, we can beat out Tucson asphalt, well, what do you have really? Is it any of these? It is not an emulsion liquid asphalt. Next picture. If they're not having a laydown machine, which is about the size of this area here, putting down asphalt, and they're telling you, yeah, we use a machine, they're using a truck spraying it. This is an asphalt paver. The next one, please. Well, this was, 2 years ago also, City of Tucson. Remember I was telling you earlier, the City of Tucson Transportation Department is now kind of looking around and trying to disrupt the market with longer warranties. We put a 4-year warranty on that. And what this is here was a garbage truck that was on it the very next day. That's all that happened to it. Next picture. 4-year warranty. Let's see if I have anything after this. Oh, yeah, that's cute. Thank you. Can you do I have another picture after? Yeah, these are some, yeah. Oh my gosh, I don't have the city of Bisbee in here. Do I have Bisbee in there?
Picture, yeah.
Yeah, Bisbee. Another prominent contractor came in there, was Bisbee, in fact, they were going by the old standards, we got to remove this and replace it. We got to remove it and replace it. They heard about green asphalt, we came in, great article. We go back to Bisbee in 2020 to do Naco Highway, and then the tunnel leading into downtown. They were able, because of the savings using green asphalt, they shifted that money into the street maintenance of the neighborhood using chip seal. That's the surprise they got. We're getting ready to probably do some projects in Casa Grande with green, but we are definitely moving forward with the green asphalt. Let me see if there's anything else I have missed. Oh, we had people throwing at us, oh my gosh, you guys, where green asphalt, how did you think about it? Well, I keep saying we didn't invent the wheel. The Florida Department of Transportation, in a study, if you would like it, any of you, it's a green asphalt mix, ground rubber tires and polymers. A study done in 2016, that's what they use in Florida. If you're not an engineer, or else you want to go to sleep at night, cut it short, read page 2 and page 18. These are the scientific studies that talk about the sort of product that green asphalt is that's now being used in Florida, and you're starting to see used here in southern Arizona. And by the way, the new director for transportation, City of Tucson, she's from Fort Lauderdale. She's the one who gave this to me. Joe, I understand you. Any questions, or want to yell at me or something?
The pieces Brew brought us, you said you lay it down a 1-inch thick, what do you call it? That's more than an inch. How come you just didn't bring us something that was what you actually put down?
Well, we'd have to pour it out and stuff. But,
You see what I'm saying,
I-
right? Because this is not an inch. That's way more than an inch.
and what that is probably where it came off
Is
of
it-
the sides.
Is it because it would, if you dropped it, it might break because of being so rigid? Because concrete, there's concrete, and there's concretes that are stronger than just regular concrete.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't matter how strong you make the concrete, it's gonna get cracks. And the only reason it doesn't break apart is because of the steel inside the concrete. I don't care which bridge you go to, or whatever it is, it doesn't matter if it's 5 feet thick, it's gonna crack. The thing that holds it together is the steel. Now, what are you saying that's holding that together, even though it's only 1 inch thick?
Here goes, and that's a great question. You are going to have a little bit of a 1/4 inch during the winter months. Because when it gets cold, it will separate. But because of the rubbers and polymers, when it starts heating up, it will self-heal itself. Yes, it'll have a, but you can't do anything with a 1/4 inch crack. You can't seal them, you can't fill them up or anything. That's just normal, and you're right, everything does crack.
That's right.
But you're right on. But because of the rubber, and you got the tires going on it, it self-heals itself.
Okay, because they were at a school we had here, they told us that they could pour concrete and that it would not crack, it would not ever crack. But like I told them when they first started, it's going to crack. And it doesn't matter what you do to it, how thick you make it, the thing that holds it together is the steel. Now what you're saying is that by going over it a numerous amount of times, that the crack itself, the product itself, heals itself.
With the proper, in other words, May, June, July, August, September. Here goes, let me give you the anecdotal story about Bisbee. They had snow. They had 2 inches of snow.
Right.
They were out there with their public works department looking for any cracks that would be wider than a 1/4 inch in December.
Okay, so then that 1/4 inch is what you're saying
That's it.
is a crack. Not anything less than that is a crack, right? Anything less than a 1/4 of an inch is not a crack.
Okay.
It's a small crack. Yeah. Where are you going with this?
But all the thing I'm going is that whatever you do, it's going to crack. You just have to wait for the months that it's hot enough so that when the vehicles go over it, it heals itself because it's been heated enough so it will re-stick to itself.
You got it.
Okay, that's
You got it.
that's the point I was trying to make.
You want my job?
I've got a question. As you were talking about, where the water puddle, where the fuel thing?
Fuel bay, yes.
Yeah, on the fuel bay.
Lake Valdez.
Okay, is that what it is, Lake Valdez?
Yeah, it's right here, right there. There's the administration building, and right in there. And what happens, so I'm not talking to her, that water is puddling. This is the fuel tanks right here. You got the colored photo here. You guys got there's a garbage bin, what's it called, a dumpster? And what's the electrical box there next to it?
Transformer box.
Transfer. I get real nervous with water and electricity. I don't know why. But you have a drainage problem right there, and you're going to have to address it. We're not engineers. We're not here to say, geez, hire us, and that's not what we do. But you're going to have to get that fixed.
So are you saying that you really don't want to work in that area until that
It's engineered.
is,
Engineered and fixed.
okay?
And in fact, we're the ones who called Carlos. I said, Carlos, you guys got a problem here. I mean, everyone else tells them they'll just throw 2 inches on, it'll be fixed. No, we're not interested.
And are you going to do, if you get the job, the work in sections? Or just want to call in and go, poof?
It's up to you.
Okay.
Well, that's got to be fixed first before you do anything.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I was going to ask, has anything been done to look into what it would cost or an engineer to repair that area?
let me go back, Mr. Verdugo. That's why we color coded these. Like, okay, can you do this and get this done this
Okay.
summer? Can you do the big bus line? Yes, we can do that.
No problem.
That will not cost. But this one here,
The other one, you would have to wait on.
yeah, we don't want to mess with it. Why?
So in response to Mr. Lopez's questions, what we would have to do is we'd have to bring in EEC again, have a look at it and have them take their initial drawings and then come up with a recommendation of how to repair that drainage area there. And then work with a contractor to get that done.
And the reason I recommend EEC, number one, they're a quality engineering company. They've already done it, so they've got it on file. They don't have to come out here again. They have the survey crews, and they have the hydrology experts for drainage.
Have you took into account anything as far as climate change? Because normally during this time in the years before this, it was hot during these months and hot in the evenings. Now we have a place where it's a little bit cool because of the air in the day, and it's cold at night. So is the same repair going to do to itself when the cars roll over it when it's not as hot as it normally is? As far as looking at for the future, because climate change is going to keep continuing. We're not going to solve it in the next 2 or 3 years. See what I'm saying?
No, I'm trying to
See, because you haven't done really any of the projects you have done have not been in, as far as I can see, the climate change period, which is probably started in 2018, that really started where it's cool, really cool in the evenings, and a little bit cool during the day, so that it doesn't get up to the 90s and 80s that it should be way before like it used to.
Let me answer it with Bisbee. When that had the snow,
All right.
32 degrees and snow sitting on there, there were those little cracks and they're self-healing already again. That was an extreme weather versus what you see here in Tucson. So the answer is yes. Did I answer you completely?
Well, yeah, as far as Bisbee is concerned.
During the 4 years guarantee, you fix it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we better else.
We're gonna hunt you down.
Yeah, I've been here for 65 years, so it'll be hard to find.
How is the noise level? I know we're not gonna be dealing with this in the highway or anything, but, I think I've driven on a road that has green asphalt, so
Oh, Valletta,
it seems,
yes.
underneath the,
UV.
it seems like it's required to ride. I don't know if that's just my,
No, it is. And in fact, the town of Sahuarita used Gordian with us during the procurement process. They saved 40% versus an R&R. Again, because they're engineers, they were thinking, how can we remove and regrade? And we came with the alternative. So, yes, it is quieter. We work with Gordian, which is a great example. Procurement process went very smoothly. And it's an alternative to Mojave.
Mr. Hernandez?
As far as the piece that you just showed us, all the aggregate that I can see in it is less than 1/4 of an inch. Is that why your product is, does so much better than the regular asphalt, that they've got pieces up to 1/2 inch or bigger inside the asphalt itself? Or is it just because it's smaller, like I said, by itself, so it takes a little more for it to actually show a crack all the way from top to bottom?
You know, I'm going to take that one head on. Mr. Shepherd, could you answer that?
Sounds like your boss.
Because the aggregate in it is very small.
Alan is worked for Sun for a number of years. He is a civil engineer. He'll give you a better answer than I can.
Okay.
Typical PAG asphalt or something like that, there's different gradations and stuff like that, and most of them will have a gradation, from a big rock to a smaller rock down to sand. The larger rocks are for a structural stability, so you can drive trucks and stuff like that on it. This is more of a wearing surface. The structural integrity is the existing asphalt
That's underneath.
it. So this is the rideability. The owner of Tucson Asphalt, Paul Polito, he worked for Granite Construction for a number of years in their materials division. He developed this over time. It is, Joe doesn't know, nobody knows the complete makeup of this stuff. It's something that he kind of keeps close to the vest, but it is a one size smaller.
Nobody knows?
Well, the Vulcan Materials knows, because they're the ones that make the product.
But one of the questions I was asking, the stuff that you're going to be laying down, and wherever you lay it down, if you lay any down in the school district here, is it going to be that same size aggregate?
Yes.
If I can go out there and pick some up and say, hey, this is 2 times the size that you showed me,
No, you won't.
it will be that exact same
It'll be
aggregate.
the same size. It's a one size, basically, it's the polymers, the oil, the asphalt oil, the polymers, and the finely ground rubber in there. That when Vulcan produces it, it's all obviously out of it's batched and metered, and it's per price or precise proportions per ton that this mixed design comes.
Well, I can see why it would hold itself together. It's just like plastering. They put fiberglass in the plastering so that the cracks if they do come through, is very small so that it can't pull apart. So I can see why the rubber from the tires would do the same type of, keeping it from spreading apart. So, yeah, no, I like the idea. I just wanted to see if we're gonna be getting something that's different from what you're showing us now. That's all.
I'm going to put you to sleep with a little bit more detail.
Okay.
You know, in fact, Vulcan Materials is the only company we use, and we only use their west side pit, because that's the only good strata of material we can find over there. And when we make that design for green asphalt, let's say we have to pave a parking lot or make a road, we have to go and, let's say you're Vulcan, and say, you've got to shut your plant down, our ground rubber tire's coming in, you've signed the papers, you're not sharing this with anyone, our own personal ATEC geological geotechs will come in, and we will optimize that design right there at the plant. And then it will be checked at the road, then it'll be checked again at the road. We in-house have to check, because it's a very specific design, like Alan was just saying. But that's the one place we get. In fact, I have to, twice a year, go grab 700 pounds of materials from Vulcan's pit, because the strata changes. We then have to redo the design to make it as consistent as possible. Go ahead.
Another question. If we were to approve and give you the project, the price doesn't change based on the repair of the fuel area over there, transportation?
There's going to be we were talking about that today.
Because I don't know, as far as time frame, you know, how long, because definitely that needs to be repaired in my book.
And we would work with Carlos to identify an area that we would pave up to and leave, you know, from the fuel aisle and north or something. And then once you get it permanently fixed, we come back in, or somebody else will come back in. Because there's also the north parking lot. The north parking lot here, this is the fuel island.
Okay.
Part of the problem is this parking lot here leading to the,
The bus.
well, up to the road.
Transportation area,
Yeah, up to, what is that, the Ginter?
The retention basin here.
Yeah, the detention basin. Part of this parking lot here is too high, so that's part of the problem why the water doesn't drain to the north. And the dumpster also contributes to it. So there's a lot of things holding the water back. There's probably just over time.
So based on the corrections that need to be made, the cost of, your cost of putting down the new asphalt, that's not gonna change, right?
That's
Okay,
what I'm
in other words,
asking.
we make the corrections, which we know are gonna result in additional engineering, surveying
That's
costs.
different, yeah.
Yep.
We pay for that, that's additional cost fixed, your part will be the same,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
okay?
Mr. Lewis, what dumpster, you're talking, is that a trash dumpster?
Yes, it's a trash,
Well, why can't you move it?
that we can't, there's a wall and a pad that it's
We'll have to-
enclosed.
we'll have
Yeah, just pull it out.
So we can just take that out and then
Fix.
it'll, you know.
It'll be part of the
design-
fix.
It'll be part of the overall design for the new
Fix.
drainage area.
This
It
one
hasn't
is-
been done before.
You know, here's one other thing. You don't know what's underneath that.
Yeah,
underneath
well,
the-
I know they need to,
Yeah, but
yeah,
it's-
I
there's
understand
something
that. I'm just saying, or asking about the price change.
Once it's fixed, the fix is
Because
gonna
we
come.
always have a problem with that, and I have an issue.
My cell number is 9750.
I got your card.
4666.
I got your card. I've got your
I've
card.
got 3 kids, no grandkids, yes, one grandkid.
I have one more
Are
question.
you a night out?
Mr. Hernandez?
Depends. Yes, sir.
As far as the parking lots are concerned, there's a lot of places in the parking lots where the asphalt itself has been eaten away by all the oil and acids and whatever else comes from the vehicle when it's stationed in one spot for such a long time. How do you get your product to adhere to the product, the substrate itself, so that it's not popping off later?
Alan?
Those areas are typical, all the bus bays. We would mill the entire length where where the engine sets where all the oil, you can see the big.
No, I know, that's why I'm saying,
Huge.
there's some parking spaces where you can't even hardly see there's any asphalt there anymore because of so much oil and gas that has fallen on it.
Correct. We would mill those areas out and then repave it with conventional asphalt, back flush with the surrounding surface. Then we would put the 1-inch green asphalt over that, the entire.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we even, and believe me, we figured in the areas that's gonna have to be milled, that's in the price. It's not like, oh geez, we're going up, that's done.
Okay, I'd like to make the motion.
I got one question. So the scope of work is everything in this blue, green, yellow,
Color coordinated.
red, and purple? This is
The
the scope.
purple will not be, that's the kind of a public thing. We
Oh,
decided that
okay,
that
I
area
didn't
would
even
have
see
to be
this little
done.
area. Okay, so
This area.
11,000 right here at the bottom.
Yeah, no, that's the parking lot, the parking area that's used by employees, which is south of the fence area, on the other side of the maintenance department. So that's
That's the fill area.
right, that wouldn't be included, no.
Oh, thank goodness you asked.
Yeah, that's why we brought that color-coded map, so you can see it.
One thing I'd like to mention, you asked a question about extra costs. So once a proposal goes through the state GOC and Gordian, that we've reviewed it and passed it along, if there's any changes into,
Do you know what a JOC is? Because I don't like it when.
No, I don't.
Okay, so explain what a JOC is.
job order contracting, it's multiple job orders under one contract. Tucson Asphalt's been competitively bid for Region 7, so they went through a process of their company qualifications, financial stability, past projects with cities, public entities. So after they passed all that, they were then given they bid an adjustment factor to the state of Arizona's price book. So all of their pricing comes out of a price book. They can't raise their price, they can't lower their price. Well, they can lower the price, but they can't raise their price for any reason because of material went up 5%, so we're gonna raise our price 5%. That's included in their adjustment factor so that you get steady pricing consistently over the period of their contract. So yes, they were competitively bid on it. The job order contract for Arizona, we can do projects from $0 up to $1 million. Any project that goes through it will be reviewed by Gordian. We're going to put our stamp of approval on it, and then it's going to go to, in this case, Carlos, and we'll review it together and see if there's any scope that needs to change. Everything's line itemed out. It's real straightforward.
How many of you in your Gordian, on your committee, put stamp of approval, and are you all in different areas of construction or?
Yes, we actually have, so in Arizona, there's 5 of us here. In our Four Corners region, there's 12. And on that, we've got procurement specialists, electrical, mechanical, architects, general contracting, concrete. So if there's like a specific project that there's questions about, we'll rely on our team to review the proposal. So typically, there's always going to be more than one set of eyes on a proposal,
Okay,
especially when it gets to a larger one.
okay, thank you.
In fact, Matt, correct me, in fact, job order contracting, I'm gonna bore you guys, evolved out of NATO. There was a procurement officer for the United States Army who was responsible for all the facilities in Europe at the time during the Cold War. But he'd have to get a bid for a door for all these different buildings. They figured out a process where they would screen, select, and choose people, and then that's the way they would do it. And it was transferred over here. Did I
We're a
just
lot
simplify it?
So what he's talking about with the procurement, and where job order, so the guy who started Gordian was part of that team that started job order
okay,
contracting
cool.
with the
It
Army.
gives you a history. For me, I like a history. Where did this come from? You know, what's the background?
One of our goals too is complete transparency on the proposals, so anytime you get one, you're gonna have every line item that goes in the job, you can see it. If you guys have budget issues and you need to lower stuff, you guys can look at it, figure out what can be dropped, what can stay. And to get back onto change order or a supplemental, they're not allowed to just give you a change order without us creating a supplemental project with approval by the owner to create it. And then it's got to go through the same review process, and it cannot be marked up because it's a change order. It's going to go in at the same rate that they bid the whole job. So the goal is not to necessarily come in way low, way high, it's to come in accurate. Accurate and auditable. So that's our goal on a project. So these guys aren't going in low to nickel and dime you at the end because we're not going to let them.
See, that's my issue. We've bid it on project, we've, approved projects, they've given us the bid, and then as it's progressing, then down the line, oh, we forgot we need this, oh, we forgot we need that. And that's where I go into the nickel dime and it blows my mind. That's why I'm asking, is there going to be additional charges once that, in the fuel area?
There's an additional charge. It'll be an agreed upon additional scope that will be discussed with Carlos, Tucson Asphalt, myself, and then I'm guessing in this case you won't.
Just a fairness, not
yeah.
put us over barrel because we know that needs to be done and that needs to be finished. Instead of saying, hell with it, we're not going to terminate the job. It's going to be incomplete because we're being nickel and dime.
Well, and then, so the added layer to this is the state of Arizona implemented this contract. So not only are we going to hold the contractors responsible, they have a contract with the state that's going to make them responsible. So if they're not adhering to that, then things get...
They got more money in us.
We'll file a complaint.
Mr. Rodriguez, or anyone, please go to our website. You're going to see a recommendation from the Public Works Director, Saw Reader. Her name is on there, Beth Abramovitz. Call the Public Works people and say, Beth, I'm da-da-da-da, tell me about green.
Mr. Rodriguez works for the town of Sahuarita.
I love you.
I just wanted to check that on the price.
We have a motion?
Yeah, I make the motion, but I think there's going to be a little change because of the repair order for that area. Cost us blah, blah, blah.
Well, I think the contract amount is the same with the, I think the only,
Because the district is gonna take care of that issue
yes.
before they...
So the contract will be $501,000 with the understanding the district is going to incur additional expenses to be brought back to the committee for the engineering and corrections and efficiencies and the field lighting.
I have to make the motion of what he just said.
So we'll get together. Okay, to approve.
I make his, go back to what he said. To give it to Tucson Asphalt for the $501,661.84 based on the district going into...
Corrections to the fuel island area.
Got it?
To be paid for separately from this contract, but
Got it.
brought back to committee for approval prior to proceeding.
Okay.
I second.
We have a second roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We have a second.
Ms.
Thank you,
Higgins.
Ms. Higgins.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Higgins?
Yes.
Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei?
Yes.
Mr. Verdugo?
Yes.
You did a really good presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you.
And you didn't back off on questions.
No.
I give you credit for that.
You guys got this report, I'll leave this with you because I got 20 copies. This is yours. Okay. We'll leave the flash drive with you.
I'll take a copy of that.
You want this?
If anybody would like copies, I'll be more than happy to make copies for everybody and send it out.
I would
We'll send it to you. Thank you.
Some of that stuff is.
I have with question.
Gets wild.
It's not be something.
All right, next item, thank you very much, Mr. Tucson Asphalt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Okay, the next agenda item is a district-wide carpet tile project at Challenger, Elvira, Los Amigos, and Mission Manor. Mr. Encinas?
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. The committee may recall that you approved $300,000 to address these 4 schools. Based on our understanding of the scope of the project at that time, we were very confident that $300,000 would be enough. Upon Mr. Portillo going out to the sites, meeting with the principals, getting their input, getting their request, based on a revised scope of this project, and to address the principal's needs to, once and for all, address the carpeting and tile needs at these 4 schools, we are short $103,793.92. So the request is for your approval to increase the amount that you originally approved from $300,000 to $403,793.92.
So looking at the cost, Mr. Encinas, on the carpet tiles, I see the square footage, is this just all over the place, or is this?
Classrooms, all the schools, there's classrooms with tile, libraries with tile, classrooms with tile and carpet, offices with carpet, libraries with carpet, classrooms with carpet, cafeteria tiles. So that's basically staying with the same.
Okay, so we're going to replace the carpet tile with carpet tile
Yes.
instead of adding carpet tile where there isn't any.
The request of one school was, this teacher wants his whole classroom carpet instead of carpet tile. We said, no, what happens is that teacher might move, and then what's going to happen? The next teacher wants carpet tile, and you have all carpet. We're just going to retain the same patterns that are currently there, but we'll replace it with new carpet and new tile.
That'd be me, they'd be happy they're getting carpet.
Oh, yep. And as you see, Elvira is the oldest school we have operating, but it's the school with getting the most cost improvements, which is, we're also going to get a new roof for that this facility, hopefully. That's a different subject. Not through bond funds.
So we haven't addressed Challenger, Elvira, Los Amigos, and Mission Manor.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And I see, on page 1, we have Elvira, the 68,000, and then on page 2, we have Elvira again.
On page 2 is Elvira, or it's really page, page 1 is just tile. On page 1, just tile for the 4 schools.
Oh,
The next section, which in other words, basically saying, just tile is going to be $269, no carpet. Starting on page 2, each school then has carpet and tile, okay? So Challenger on page 1 says $59,000 just for tile, okay, on page 1.
Carpet tile.
Okay.
Yes.
Carpet tile only, that's it. On page 2, it's carpet tiles and VCT.
for
Tile.
93.
So for an additional $34,000. So do you want just tile for Challenger at $59,000, or do we want carpet and tile for $93,900?
Okay.
And the request is for carpet and tile. That's a recommendation. That's why we need the additional funds.
Didn't the other schools that are completed with the flooring, they did both carpet and
Yes, ma'am.
tiles?
Yeah.
And it includes hallways?
Some of the sites do not want the tile or in the hallways,
Or
they want
polish.
concrete.
Yeah,
And we have the machine to do that ourselves.
Okay, yeah, because a lot of them did that, huh? They
Yes.
went with the polished concrete, no
Yes.
tile.
And the cost is an arm away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not cheap. But I mean, the flooring would be for the complete school, whether it's tile, polished concrete, or
Yes.
carpet.
Carpet.
Administration group, offices as well.
No.
Page,
Of the schools, yes.
Yes, at the school, yes.
Yes, sir.
page 4, 5, and 6, was that?
Just blank. I'm just, printer went crazy.
They got extra paper.
So this is the whole total, we've already approved 300,000 originally for this. so
Of the
this is-
403,000,
we've
$300,000 you
We've
approved already.
approved.
So to
this would be
complete it,
additional.
it's $103,000 more. That's what we're requesting.
And that's with both, right, with carpet and tile?
Yes, sir.
So that's a total, how many elementaries?
All
Was
of
all elementary or included high schools, middle schools,
21.
schools?
21.
21?
That is it, right? That's good. We're done district-wide. The only thing we didn't do is admin, so, but.
Yeah, we're gonna try to toss the floor in here, so possibly concrete.
Any questions on the proposal? Do we have a motion, since there's no questions on this?
Well, I have a question with regard to Continental Flooring.
Okay.
Isn't that the one company that had issues last year or the year before?
No,
It was
sir.
the year before that, it was not confidential, so it
It
was,
wasn't?
it was the other,
No, these
Western.
guys are new.
Yeah, these are brand new.
No, it's not the same company.
Yeah, we got them even because of the work they did, we were able to get them off the state contract.
Then I make a motion to recommend to the governing board approval for an additional $103,793.92 to complete this project.
No, second by Mr. May. Roll call?
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Ms. Higgins.
Yes.
Ms. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Tomei.
Yes.
And Mr. Ridley.
Yes.
Okay, on letter G, Elvira multipurpose court project update manner. Mr. Encinas?
Thank you,
I don't
sir.
know what the matter is.
Where's Mr. Valdez? I'll be happy to take that question head on. Where's Mr. Valdez?
Where's Mr. Velez?
This item is brought to your attention, just to bring you up to date on the status of the projects that we currently have ongoing. And we'll just take them one at a time. Ocotillo parking lot. As you recall, EMC2 has been contracted to make the design improvements for the parking lot to the west side of the school and also the north parking lot and the Drexel side parking lot. At this point in time, we're just on hold until we finish the solar project.
Did we miss the
Yeah,
Elvira multipurpose?
Yeah, we were on the Elvira item.
Yeah, that's when I said manner, update project manner. G, you jumped ahead to the project update, and we still need to.
I thought he was waiting for the dudes to come in.
Here.
So here's Mr. Valdez, just to bring you up to date on the status of the Elvira multipurpose court project, which we had been tackling since its completion shortly thereafter. We noticed that there was some cracking on the concrete, and we've resolved it. Basically, it's almost been like 2 years, and we had retesting, repairing, and finally, I think at this point in time, it's just we've reached a point where there's no more recourse that we can take in order to address this project any further. So this past spring, we had the contractor come in and do the final repairs on it. And I'll turn this over to Mr. Valdez and Mr. Portillo.
Yes, all the final repairs have been done to that based upon stress testing by contractors as well as an independent laboratory that worked on our behalf. And so we're like Mr. Encinas says, we've gotten to the point now where we pretty much can't do anything else at this point, so we just had everything repaired and resurfaced, and we're moving forward from there.
How safe is it?
It's safe.
It's safe, it's safe, it's not going to fall apart, it just...
No, I'm worried
yeah.
about, there's no crack, no significant cracking that.
No, there aren't any
Kids not gonna
significant
trip
cracks.
or fall or-
Yeah, no, there aren't any significant cracks. It's to a level where visually and aesthetically it looks good and it's playable.
I think as a bond member, I think we should keep our eyes out for this company wanting to do more work here because they think that their response from the get-go,
No, you're correct.
you know.
Their response from the get-go and their oversight of the project overall.
It's terrible.
Yes,
Red
I
flag.
agree.
Red flag them, tag them.
So, I mean, it's playable, it's, did they do,
Sports.
redo the logo, they repainted, redo everything on it? or-
I believe so, yes.
Yes, and there was some minor, I think cracking on the paint itself, but there was nothing else that could be done. We had to have an expert go out there and look at it, that showed that everything's is up to par with it.
Yes,
As far as the repairs that were done, do you know exactly what was done?
no, sir, I don't.
Does anybody know exactly what was done? Was
Um,
anybody there from the district checking what they were doing so that we could know whether things were done that are supposed to be done or things that were done that they shouldn't have done? No?
No, and honestly, not anybody that has the experience in the concrete repair and to know that what they're doing is industry standards, sir.
Okay, as far as the last time, they had said that they had not had the inspector that's supposed to go out there and check to make sure that the ground was stable enough or whatever as far as the thickness and all of that was concerned. Were they ever taken to task by the city or by us to the licensing bureau or not?
Not that I'm aware of, sir, no.
So nothing was done other than let them repair whatever they wanted to repair?
Well, we did have a independent inspector that was on site with them while they were doing their repairs, but we from the district ourselves, no, sir, we were not. But we had to take the expertise of the inspector who was there with us when they were doing their post-tension testing and everything else that they were doing. And Mr. Portillo and myself were actually there when they were doing the post-tension testings.
They provided a report to the district?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
So do we know the strength of the concrete where all the cracks occurred was, or not?
Mr. Portillo can answer.
Yes, we do know that. It's in the report as to the post-tension. It was supposed to be, I forget the number, sir, but they met all except for 4. And they said that to our independent engineering, and he was also there, and they said that's well within the realm of being good. We were safe. It was a safe condition for the cement. So our independent engineer said everything's fine. They sent us the report back. It was sent to Mr. Encinas, all of us, and they said it was in good shape.
Yeah, and we were there while they were doing the testing. They brought the inspector came out, they did the testing, the inspector was right there while they were reading the tension numbers. And the final report came out saying that yes, the court is safe and it's within standards.
Can I get a copy of that?
Yes, sure, we can get a copy of that for you.
Would anybody else like a copy of that? Would you like
Yeah.
a copy? Yeah. Give us a copy. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Okay, now we can go to the bond project update, Mr. Macias.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Valdez will bring the committee up to date in terms of the status of the projects.
You'll take that one head on too.
I'll take some. For the parking lot at Ocotillo, we're just waiting for the solar project panel to finalize so we can proceed with the scope of the project. If you recall, the parking initially started off with just an additional west parking lot, which now translated and increased to a north parking lot and the east parking lot, and then some shades, ramadas all over the place. So until we get that project, the solar project complete, then we'll go back and revisit it and have the architect finalize the drawings. Gallego Intermediate Playground Fields, we got a final report or estimate last time that we met. We did follow up with the architect, and the cost projection that we were given at that meeting was just for the football field area plus around it didn't include the playground where the baseball field and softball field is at. That's additional. Total cost over $900,000.
Oh, gee.
Okay, so anyway, we discussed it internally in terms of how do we make the playground safer. how do we make the football field safer? We're working on a proposal to bring back to Bach, where we would be requesting the purchase of equipment that'll be used by the district on the long term, that would be used to address and fix the problems that Gallego Intermediate right now. So therefore, it'd be, rather than have a contractor come in and do the work and then leave, we buy the equipment, we do the work, and we still have the equipment to be able to address it for other fields. At a lot less expense than $900,000.
So we're not dealing with EMC anymore, too?
Well,
Not for that cost.
not for that cost,
I was
yeah.
gonna say.
The urinal privacy panels, there's pictures of
We
what
have some
was.
in, right? I've seen
Yes,
some in.
and Mr. Valencia did obtain pictures of the panels that were installed at Sunnyside High School and Desert View High School. That's before? Okay.
No, sir. This is.
There's a panel right there, though.
Yes, this is Sunnyside in the main foyer, go back there.
Okay.
So what we did, we called them out, mid-state, we called them out because, as you can see, they did not put one in the middle. They put one here at the end. So when you walk in, they have privacy, but they did not want to put one in the middle. And I told them, Mr. Valencia and I both told them, that's not acceptable, you need to get this fixed. And so it was only in the auditorium at, I found only the auditorium at Sunnyside to be in this way. So,
But-
we called them out on
Did
that.
you do the ones in the gym?
I'm sorry?
Could you do the ones in the gym?
Yes, sir. That one, the first picture you saw, that was the main foyer. That's it. That's the gym.
That's the gym at
That's the
Sunnyside.
main foyer, restroom, men's restroom in the gym.
So the purchase order that was issued called for 13 panels at Desert View High School, 10 panels at Sunnyside High School. That, my understanding is that is what they installed. So if that urinal right there needs a panel, we need 11 then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
We
we'll-
gave them the right count, boss.
Okay.
We gave them the right count. They just did this one. Then, and
They
the
put the
one
panel in the
for,
wrong place?
they should have, I told them, I indicated two because of the one here and the one that needs to be in the middle.
Okay.
They just put the one at the end.
Okay, so we'll
Yeah,
get that
we-
corrected.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right.
Yay, 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 yay. How about,
How many years?
Gallegos is next?
Let's see.
ADA pathway.
Let's see,
We already
forget
did the
Apollo,
floors,
forget
we
the
already did
88
that.
equipment, 88 pathways.
Oh, yeah, we already discussed
Yeah.
that.
Carlos, Mr. Valdez.
So we did find an issue with the playground, ADA pathways, only at Liberty. And we're probably going to be coming back to Bach for and I hate to say this, but it sounds like a nickel and dime, but what happened was we found out the contractor, when they were working at building the pathway, it was within the price that we looked at, but I went back and I pointed out to them that that is actually a drainage area coming from the east part of the school down to the west side of the school where the water collects in that area. So what I asked was to take Liberty completely out of the proposal that they gave us initially, to look at what it would cost to add culverts to that so that the water would have an unrestricted flow into the retention pond as it's designed to do. So then that way the water doesn't come up over the pathway and start degrading the pathway. So that the water can flow underneath it and go into the retention area that it's designed to do. So they're gonna break away Liberty, and it'll reduce the overall cost to the rest of the project, and it might add a small amount to the Liberty project. But I'll bring it back to Bach with the two separate quotes
Before doing anything.
before doing anything, yes.
Desert View High School softball field upgrades. The committee did approve for us to proceed with this project. We have gotten pricing from Gordian or no?
Yes, Gordian, Mr. Cornett that's here, he's working with his contractors and they're providing drawings and to Desert View for their acceptance so that they can then move forward and give them quotes on all that.
On the dugouts?
On the dugouts, yes. So he's working with his contractors, I believe he's using SD Crane, and he's working with them to provide drawings and recommendations to the school so that we can move forward with a proposal.
Number 7, the racquetball conversion to storage units. I think the direction that Bob gave us last time was to see whether or not we could just get a proposal to just put like a skin over the roof over the existing racquetball. I think we're meeting again with Gordy and our.
Yes, we're still working with Gordian on that as well, to finalize some drawings so that they can put a proposal together for that as well.
And I think one of the things we discussed on that is looking for small contractors that might be able to provide something instead of having to worry about, bringing in all steel structure. maybe.
Correct, yeah.
Forget number 8, we already did that. And then district-wide bathroom renovation project. I don't know, the status of that project, I think that they're currently working at Liberty, Elvira.
Elvira, Sunnyside, Esperanza, and I'm not real sure off the top of my head which other site they're at.
Mr. Valdez was going to provide that update, but he had it's religious stuff. No, confirmation, mandatory confirmation meeting with one of his. So anyway, we'll bring an update at the next meeting.
Are we almost done to the end with the renovation?
Yes, it's coming down to the
Final stretch.
Very cool. I believe we have some working done at Los Ranch.
Yes,
Yes.
we'll do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosinos, for that update. Okay, request for future agenda items?
Pardon?
Any requests, we're on number 4, any requests for future agenda items?
Yeah, I'd like to find out if it would be possible to order some things for the academic parts of the school, like chess club, the what do they call it, where they go and they debate different things. If we could get them vests so that they can feel like a part of the school, and have it vests so that say 10 or 15, whatever, so that it has a logo of the school on it, so that they are apart from everybody else, and you know when you're walking through the halls that this guy is, or this woman is part of the debate team or whatever, and be a part of the school that way so that everyone knows. You know, that seems to me would be, as far as academic-wise, very nice, because this would give them incentives to do better. And maybe draw in some more people that say, hey, you know what, I'd like for people to know that I'm a part of that too. I don't know how much it would cost. I mean, a simple vest with a logo on it, I can't see it costing so much that it would be outrageous that we couldn't do it. And I would like to see that for the kids that have anything to do with anything that's academic, where they have to go to what would you call it? Yeah. So that they know they're apart from everybody else.
Is that something?
Would that be possible?
Is that something that the bond, or is that something?
I don't think the bond funds can be utilized for that purpose, but I'll send the message back, because I know for a fact that we have purchased for like the academic decathlon team.
Yeah.
They buy them coats, the academic decathlon or the debate team.
Uh-huh.
We bought them coats, CTE, JTED. They bought them coats so to identify that they're part of JTED. I don't see why not we could pursue that, and we'll talk to the school with superintendent and curriculum, and we'll follow up with this.
All right.
Because the debate team, each individual student buys their, they have to buy a white shirt, whatever, but they have the jacket to go with it.
That's why I'm saying a vest would be the cheapest and would look nice with a white shirt and a tie for women and men.
Right.
It looks great.
Agreed.
Good, thank you. All right, any unfinished business? How about a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Roll call?
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Higgins? Yes. Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Tomei?
Yes.
Mr. Verdugo?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Master.
Sandy.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Ocanora.
Hey, I don't mind that. What?
Thank you.
Close like that.
No hemos visto en un montón de tiempo. ¿Qué pasó?
Se me murió mi papá.
Oh,
Se me murió mi papá y luego de después entré a trabajar y ya no me da impulso ya hasta las 5 y ya no alcanzaba ya. Pero se me lo en serio. Ya no voy a salir.
hey.